Today we're going to log into the cryoEDU cloud desktop so that we can use the Reliance simulator. So first step is logging in using your username and password that you created from a previous step. If you have a slot available for you, you'll see a message that says you were seated and that you have an assigned machine number, and then it tells you when this session started. So in this case, I'm ready to go. I can click enter and it will drop me off onto a remote cloud desktop. So here is a remote desktop that's running Linux. And so for us, what we need to do is we need to set up a directory that we're going to open the Reliance simulator. So to do that, we are going to open terminal. And so here you can see a terminal. This is Linux, so if you type certain commands, you'll be able to see different outputs. So if I type ls, this will list a directory, and you see that I'm dropped off in my home directory where I have these different folders here. So for this example, we're going to make a new directory with the command called mkdir, and we'll call this first try. Click enter. And now if I relist this directory, you see there's a new directory called first try. It's important to keep your Reliance simulator run separate in different folders. So each time you come to the simulator, you should create a different folder. So now we will go into this directory with a command called change directory or cd. And what this will do is that this will move us into the folder. If I type out the folder name, I'm now in this folder and the folder is empty. We need to do one initialization step before we get started. And so this is called, we're going to be symbolically linking some data into this directory. So symbolic linking, you can think of it as an alias on a computer where it's not going to move the data, but it will point to the data. So the command is ln space -s. And now the path is going to be this specific path. And so what you'll see is as I start typing out names, I can press tab and it will autocomplete. And so in this example, I'm looking for this directory. So this is in a folder called Big Disk, SP Train, and then Movies Select. This is the input movies that we'll be importing for Relion. And then the last bit here is I put a period which says symbolically link this directory here. So now if I list my current directory, this movies_select is present. I'm also going to symbolically link a gain reference file. So same path, same spot, except this one's called norm gatan data. And in the same way, I will put a period at the end. Symbolically link it here. So now we have the setup that we need. So every time you use the simulator, you will need to have this file of the gain reference and the input movies to start. So we're here, now we can open Relion. So we just type Relion and click enter. This tells you that, first off, it shows you it says simulator to try and indicate to you this is not the normal Relion. And so instead what we have is a version of Relion that we modified so that instead of running jobs, it's going to get jobs from a pre-calculated database. And so this message will always pop up the first time you open Relion, where it's asking you, do you want to start a project here? And the answer is yes. And now we're looking at the Relion interface. So the overall interface of Relion is laid out pretty much top to bottom, from the initial import of data to the final 3D reconstructions and map interpretations on the bottom. You also see that we're running right now a version of Relion called 3.1.3, and that this is the one that we're using for the simulator at this moment. The colors might change from different versions, but the underlying commands will be the same. So the first step that we're going to do is we're going to import the data to get started. And so in this case, we have movies data that were collected by Mark Herzig at UCSD. So to reorient us where the data are, so we opened Relion in this directory that has the movies select. So the first question is, do you want to import raw movies and micrographs? Yes. What raw input files are we going to specify? So if I click on browse, you can see I can select movies underscore select here. And if I click this slash here, now you can see these are all the files that we have in the directory. We only have 6 movies. So these are the files here. It's in the directory called movies select. The easiest way to specify this to rely on is to actually click cancel, come back here and just type in the path. So it's movies underscore SEL for select, and then the files are in MRC format. So we do star.mrc. The star is called a wildcard, which means everything that matches this pattern will get imported. In this case, every file that ends with the extension MRC. The next question is, are these multi-frame movies? Yes. And then there's extra questions down here. And what I want to point out is that you see we interacted with this green input box. Everything else are magenta. And you'll see that in the simulator, only green boxes are ones that we modify. The magenta ones we leave constant. And these parameters are already correctly set. And so in this case, the data were collected on an Arctica at 200 kilovolts in super resolution with a pixel size of 0.455. So now that this is all set up, again, I told you these pink ones we don't change, we just click run. What's happening is that the simulator, if you go back to the terminal here, the simulator is doing something. It tells you it's importing. It's going and finding the data from our database and bringing over a job for you. And you see the finished job is now put in this finished job category on the left, and it tells you you imported this movies.star with 6 items. Now we can move on to the motion correction job in the next video.